You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
All right, well, we kind of just got started, but, I am Dan Barrett, as always, here from AdWords Nerds. I'm here with Eric Hartsburg. Eric, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. We were just commenting on the fact that we were both pounding coffee. Like, we knew we were about to talk, so we both went to go pound some coffee at the same time. Is that what you try? Are you like, how do you take your coffee? Are you drinking coffee, first of all?
Yeah.
How do you take your coffee? I'm curious.
I like iced coffee, but any kind of coffee is great.
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of like, I have a preference, but I also don't care that much. You know what I mean? I'm like, as long as it falls in the general vicinity, it'll generally be fine.
Yeah.
Well, we'll come back to iced coffee because we were just joking. You're in the Phoenix market. All I know about Phoenix is that it's really hot and a lot of people move there. So I'm going to ask you about Phoenix in a little bit. But let's kind of start back at the beginning and let's kind of talk about, what got you into real estate investing. I always say, like, for people that are in real estate investing, like I've been for 6 or 7 years now, and you've been, it's kind of easy to forget that, like, most people have no idea that real estate investing even exists. So I had a conversation with someone today, and I'm trying to explain it to someone, and I actually didn't do a very good job. I was like, well, it's like trying to explain, like, the whole industry and everything. So, like, what was your in to real estate investing? What got you started?
So I got my real estate license in '96, and within a couple of years, realized that working with buyers and sellers wasn't really what I liked.
You were an agent? I
was an agent. Yeah, I'm still an agent. I'm a broker now, but found a HUD house and kind of did the numbers. And my mentor at the time was telling me that if his client doesn't buy it, he's going to buy it. And then I thought, well, if you don't buy it, maybe I should buy it. And nobody bought that house that we know of, but that's what kind of got me thinking about it.
Oh, so you never even bought it? You didn't buy it, but that was just like you started thinking about it.
Just started thinking about it. Yeah, I just started thinking about it, and read Rich Dad Poor Dad, like a lot of people, and started looking for houses and started buying HUD houses. Is what kind of got me into it. The first one was a live and flip, which I won't do again. Trying to paint the pink walls and
sleep in that room at the same time with the fumes and everything. Yeah.
It's not fun, but just started. I just learned that I like doing the fix and flip more than working with the buyers and sellers, I think.
It's funny. Like I was sort of detected as I've had a lot of these conversations. There's kind of like two really broad kind of categories of investors. And there's like the people who love the deal making side, and there's the people who love the actual like flip side. They sort of get into it because they like rehabbing and they sort of learn to do the deals in order to do more rehabs. And then there's people that just love deals. It kind of almost doesn't matter that it's a house, and like it could really be anything, right? So it's like, what got you into it? Was it one or both of those, or what was your kind of that's attracted you to it?
I'm not sure myself. I've thought about that, and I think I like seeing the project come from being really ugly to that finished. It's nice, pretty, and somebody's gonna love it when they walk in. But I'm a deal junkie too, so I don't know.
Well, it doesn't help. It doesn't hurt that they have both the kind of like, you're making something better, but there's also that big kind of dopamine hit of like actually doing the deal, which is like pretty awesome. And I think there's probably a reason that investing is popular. It's probably the combination of those two. I want to ask about Rich Dad Poor Dad because everybody brings up that book. It's like, and I read that book too. I didn't become an investor. I feel like I skipped the chapter they talked about real estate investing or something. Or I just didn't. The lesson, it's funny, like I read it in college, and the lesson I took away from it, the thing I really remembered was don't buy a new car. That was like the lesson I took away from it. Everybody else that I talked to is like, yep. And then I went into real estate investing, and I was like, I totally missed that part of the book. So like, what did you, when you read that, were you like immediately like, this is what I want to do? This is for me. Like, what was the big takeaway from that book specifically? Do you remember? It's hard to remember back.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but I think what happened was just that paradigm shift that, going from just consuming to maybe building some assets. Yeah. And flipping isn't really the rich dad, poor dad way, but that mindset of not spending all your money, but investing it so it can come back to you.
Yeah. I don't know if that's where I've had this fantasy for a long time, because I ironically, like, I work in real estate investing, that's all that we do. It's all we work with, but I have like zero interest in actually like really getting into it myself. Like, I might give someone money, but I'm like, I don't want to, the whole idea sounds like a nightmare to me, right? Because I don't like working with my hands or complicated projects or whatever, right? So I'm like, I just want to like put my money in an account. But I don't know if it's from Rich Dad, Poor Dad that I got this, but for forever I've had the fantasy of like owning gumball machines like everywhere, like thousands of gumball machines that just all produce like $50 a day or whatever. Anyway, so I don't know. That's just sort of here and there. So you were in this situation, your mentor. So first of all, I'm curious, was your mentor someone local, or this was someone like an agent that you were mentored?
It was another agent. So basically I was working for them. They were doing a lot of deals, just regular real estate, helping buyers and sellers. And I was their assistant, but learning from them. And they're the one that actually gave me the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
All right. That's awesome. I mean, it's such a huge deal to have someone that's even just a couple years ahead of you that you can shadow, because it's like you know, in all the situations, you don't know what you don't know. So it's kind of hard to ask the question that's really going to make the big impact, right? Unless you ask for the kind of model. So you're doing that. You had this moment where nobody ended up buying the house, but sort of put you in that mindset. So what was your first deal like? Like, how did you go about getting your first deal and sort of making it happen?
So the first deal was selling the house that I lived in, taking that money and buying a HUD house that I was gonna move into, flip and sell, and then keep on going.
Oh, that was the live-in rehab.
That was the live and flip.
Live-in rehab. So when you did that, were you like, this is it, I quit, this is my business? Like, how did it turn into what you are now? We'll use this as kind of a bridge to talk about your website. So you're here from valleyhomebuyer.com. I should have said that in the beginning, valleyhomebuyer.com. You guys are buying houses all over the Metro Phoenix area. So it's obviously a very different kind of organization than it was. So how did you move from that, doing that one live in rehab, to where you are now?
Yeah. So just, taking the funds from that, the profit from doing the flip and buying a couple more. And then I maxed out, because I was doing everything. I was doing all the renovations, the flooring, bringing in my friends to help. And you can only do so many at a time. And I thought, well, let's see if I can hire some guys to actually do the work, because I was the realtor, I was the contractor, I was everything, and just scaled it up to where we could do more than one at a time. So when you start out, you have the funds to do one, and you gotta fix it, you gotta market it, and you gotta sell it, and then you can do it again.
Did you know that was the path? Or were you just kind of like focused on the immediate thing ahead of you, and then you looked up one day and you're like, well, I got a whole real business here?
Yeah, so it was a path that I wanted for sure. Whether I knew it could work or not, I didn't know until I did a few. But yeah, that was once I did the first one. It was like, this is what I want to do. Like I enjoy it.
Was this all in Phoenix?
Yeah, it's all in Phoenix.
So okay, so we'll kind of transition now to the current day. You are running Valley Home Buyer, which again, you can get to at valleyhomebuyer.com, in the Metro Phoenix area, which you were saying is kind of Phoenix proper, and then like a whole bunch of surrounding cities that all kind of get lumped into this big kind of Phoenix area.
Right.
Now, I would say like I have sort of like a weird impression of like real estate investing markets, because my into the market is in the PPC sort of world, right? So I view like kind of real estate markets through what the competition is like for online leads, because that's what I do, right? So it's like, from my point of view, Phoenix is like a absolutely bonkers competitive market, right? It's been one of the more expensive markets online for a long time. I know that like it's growing. There's a lot of competition there. So what's your take on the Phoenix market, on like the other side of that kind of equation?
As far as competitive, it's definitely competitive, and our costs are high. It's just there's always 3 or 4 other investors talking to the seller, and sometimes 5, 6. But the numbers work, if we stay at it.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free 2019 Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
Yeah. So what do you guys do in order to make yourself stand out? So we were saying, and by the way, so if you're an investor, first of all, you should be an investor. If you're not an investor listening to this, I don't know what you're doing. You should be an investor. But anyway, if you're an investor and you're listening to this, I was going to say, I highly recommend you actually go check out valleyhomebuyer.com. So this is Eric's website here. You guys are using Investor Carrot, right, for your website. But you've done a fantastic job of really making it your own. It looks really cool. They've done a really great job of like the design, like the color scheme and everything. I like the logo's got a cactus in it. It's like, it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, just looks unique. So like, what do you guys do in order to make yourself stand out? If you're getting the deals and there's 3 or 4 people there every single time, this is an experience that a lot of investors have. How do you make your way through that and sort of make them sell to you rather than anyone else?
So I think the biggest part is just the credibility and putting ourselves out there. You go to the website, you see my face, and we're always trying to get the reviews and the testimonials. And that's the biggest thing, is that once, if they call somebody else, maybe they can't find that about them. They don't even know who they're talking to.
Yeah.
And so that's our biggest thing, is just putting ourselves out there.
Yeah. You guys have done a great job, by the way, of gathering reviews and testimonials. You make a big deal on the side of your Better Business Bureau rating. We were even talking before the call. I was just checking on the Facebook page. You've got a bunch of positive reviews there. You've got these really great photos of Robert, so Robert works with you, right? He's on your team.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So Robert, who, by the way, is just massively jacked dude. Just look at these pictures, super yoked. So it's this giant dude, but he's in these like really sweet photos with like people who have given you testimonials and stuff. And the whole vibe is really positive and great. And I think you guys have done a really awesome job of that. Do you have is that just like a process that you do where you always ask for the review? Like, how do you go about getting those?
Yeah. And it's more of a recent thing, but yeah, once the deal's done, we always ask, we send them the Google link, or they can submit it on the website. I'm gonna try to get a picture if we can, and we always follow through. So we don't ever promise something that we're not going to do. Mm-hmm. And so and I think it comes out when you see the reviews. Those reviews they're all real, and the people are thankful that we help. And I don't know, we just try to do the right thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's one of those. It's an interesting kind of thing because there's the tactical piece of it, which is like, send them the link, ask for the review, make it a process, all that stuff. Like I've talked about that in the REI Marketing Nerds Facebook group. I think I did a whole training on it, right? So it's like kind of the tactical piece of like just getting it. But you raised a really interesting point, which is if they don't have a good experience, they're not leaving you a good review, right? Yep. So it's like you actually have to like, do a good job. And, it's weird. I was just going over this with our team. It was literally breaking down, like, we go through this process of breaking down like our goals for our team and how we interact with our clients. One of the things that we were saying we wanted was like a sense of trust between the client and the team. And I'm like, okay, so like we want them to have a sense of trust. What are the things that need to happen or, we need to have in order for people to have a sense of trust? And one of them is like, if you make a verbal commitment, then the team follows through on it, right? So it's like every time you make a verbal commitment, even if it's a small, we were sort of doing, an analysis of like a relatively small interaction where someone said, oh, I'll send you an email about that after the call. And then they didn't send the email and it wasn't a big deal. But I'm like, if you want them to trust you, every time you say something and then you don't do it, that deducts a little bit from that equation, right? It kind of makes it a little bit less. So yeah, I think that's really awesome. So like you guys are in this kind of like nuts market, a lot of competition, a lot of other investors. What does your marketing kind of stack look like? And you don't have to talk about specifics, but just kind of in general, kind of like what have you guys found to be like useful for you marketing wise? Yeah,
so we started with the postcards and we still do postcards. It's expensive, but they still work. And then the PPC and just going with the organic SEO building, just keep trying to add content, make it, tweak it, and those are really the three things.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a market like yours, where the cost to buy leads is very high, the value of organic leads goes up a significant amount, right? Because it's like, well, hey, even if it's really competitive and takes a long time and it's slow, you have to realize it's like, well, what if I'm in Toledo or something, what might be $100 lead in PPC in Phoenix is sometimes like a $300 or $400, right? So it's like, wow, it's like the marginal utility of SEO really goes through the roof. And I think, it's one of those things, interesting things that kind of depends on the market dynamics and stuff. So Phoenix as a market is, and I'm trying to remember, I actually saw someone give a presentation specifically about the Phoenix market. And I was really blown away by the extent to which it's growing, or it was growing at the time. Is that still the case? It's like one of the fastest growing cities in America, right? Yeah.
I believe I think we're number one last time I looked. Yeah.
So if you actually do live in Phoenix, like where do you live?
Born and raised in Phoenix. So yeah, I'm actually I live in Peoria, but it's it's just a suburb of Phoenix.
All right. So like, what does it feel like to actually be from there and be in the fastest growing city in America? Is it just like constant construction and everything's nuts and it's like sprawl everywhere? Like, I haven't been to Phoenix probably since I was a kid. So like, what is it actually like there now?
Yeah. So it's the sprawl. So the new stuff is usually on the outskirts, and if you're in the center, you don't see it. If you're out in the outskirts, you see them building all the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. So like for you as an investor, how does that affect what you do and kind of properties you look at? And I mean, it's one of those things where there's a lot of demand. Are you like trying to buy houses that are closer into the city center and those are worth more because people don't want to live further out? Or like, how does that affect what you do?
Yeah. And so I target the stuff that's near where we live and work. Yeah. And so, I have a preference for that stuff that's around the office, and we're in the center of Phoenix. But we'll buy anywhere, we'll buy even 100 miles out of the city if there's a house there for us. But we do all the work ourselves. We have the rehab crews. So there's a certain type of house that I really like, and I just go after those.
You have a pretty good sense of the kind of deal you want to do, and you're pretty focused. Do you ever worry about so this is maybe me speaking as a non-investor myself, right? Part of me feels like if that were me, I would worry about running out of the deals that I want. Do you ever worry about that? Or is it just look, it's such a small percentage of the total number, it's never going to happen. It doesn't matter.
So in Phoenix, there's a big percentage of the houses that are good deals for me. So just just Phoenix in general is a fairly new city. So there's a lot of stuff that's built in the 70s and 80s that are perfect for rehabs. And that's what we go for. We do a lot of stuff that's built in the last 30, 40 years, and plenty of them.
Yeah. Cool. So is it true that you can fry an egg on a sidewalk? I told you I was going to get you with this gotcha question.
I've never tried it, but I think you could. Right. When it's 120 out, you probably could.
Yeah. Holy Lord, dude. That is just mind-boggling to me. Being Connecticut, born and raised, it is truly bizarre. Oh, I should say born in Massachusetts, but same thing. Anyway, well, Eric, this was awesome. I gotta say, so even just this conversation, we've had just pretty simple conversation so far. I gotta say, man, that you definitely give off very soothing vibes, very calming vibes. So I think it really goes to show it's you're talking about differentiating yourselves with sellers and kind of just putting your real self out there and just being honest with people. And I think it really goes a long way. I think there's a lot of people in this industry that take a really kind of high pressure approach. And I just appreciate your whole approach to what you do.
Cool. Thank you, man.
So if people want to find you online, definitely. So valleyhomebuyer.com. valleyhomebuyer.com is the main website. Anywhere else you want them to check out, or is that the main place?
So if there's let's say there's an investor or somebody that wants to maybe do a deal together, you can also reach me on my personal website, erichartsburg.com.
Okay, cool. erichartsburg.com. So I'm definitely going to have links to both erichartsburg.com and valleyhomebuyer.com on the show notes for this episode, which you can get at adwordsnerds.com/podcast. But definitely go check that out. Definitely, if you're an investor and you want a really good example of a site that is really doing a good job of speaking to sellers, valleyhomebuyer.com is a great place to go. And if you're an investor, you want to team up with the Eric Hartsburg, you can do that at erichartsburg.com. I highly recommend it. Eric, this was awesome, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. I had a good time.
This is the podcastfactory.com.